Welcome to Caching Waves. This is your Elliott Wave update for XRP. Now this was off my last video. Just wanted to show you. Looking for a B wave to complete, and this B wave to be a flat as an ABC, a 335, up to around the 1-to-1 extension at minimum, and up between my B or X zone here at the 1.236 and the 382. Before our C wave to the downside. So right now, just taking this long, stop at this A wave right here, because that's where our invalidation of a B wave running flat is invalidated, and we have to go to a different count. Now on my chart here, I've relabeled a few different things here, really digging into XRP to see what we can expect out of this move, the most bullish scenario, and where we fail. Now, most likely where we fail here is if I zoom in, ignore those labels, but if this ends up being some sort of diagonal to the downside, we come to the 50 and the 618 of this move to the downside and just collapse to the downside. Pretty straightforward invalidation area, which is at this A wave low in my trade setup. I showed in the last video, not financial advice. And that would take us down to the 1-to-1 extension of this move off this pivot at the 618 to the 1-to-1 at 13.69 cents. This would become a three-wave move, and we'd have a 3-3 looking for 5 to the upside after the fact. So that's the one scenario I'm looking at if we fail. And it would expect to be completed at about the 1-to-1 extension, which is right here, around September to June of next year in time, where this in time lines up. Okay. Now in my bullish scenario, which is slowly becoming my primary count, we're making a matching leg to this move here off this low. And in that scenario, we have 3 waves up to the upside. Currently working on our correction where we're correcting this entire 3-wave move. Now in time, I have in green there, you can see, and I expect it to take at least between 618 and 1-to-1 in time extension of this W wave. It can take longer. B waves can get extended, but that's just what would look the best at the moment to keep this count intact, and we'd break this trend line here, find support above it after the fact. Now, if this 3-wave move is happening, targets are pretty high on log scale. We can use log or linear, depending on what the wave count is, up around those areas. And the 1-to-1 extension on log is at $5.57. Pretty high target. Now, on linear scale, the 1-to-1's at 215.28. So a little more reasonable. But we'll have to see what sort of targets we hit and what scale is working the best. We won't know until it starts panning out. That's the thing with log and linear. Now at the moment, we had our A wave move to the downside, looking for 3 waves for our B, most likely in a flat. We had 3 waves to the upside for our A wave. We're on our B wave, looking for 5 up as a flat, which will create a larger flat in itself. A, B, C. And as long as we make higher highs, which I'd like to see, our A wave low should be protected as a running flat. And then we'd expect our next move to the upside. Now current targets, if this pivot is in, it's very important. If this pivot is in, if we make a slightly lower low, then we'd have to repull this pivot. But the 1-to-1 extension is at 86.13 cents for the C wave right here. If we get extensions in the C wave, we've got the 1.236, 1.382, and 1.618. What's nice is the 1.618 extension. If we get that, comes right between our B and X zone here, our extension of our A wave. For our standard area for our B or X wave to be, and then we target the 1-to-1 extension of this A wave off that pivot to look for our entry long for that move to the upside. So as of right now, it's looking pretty good, looking intact. You can see we have some pretty far out targets, and my current invalidation on this setup specifically is that A wave low. Now we can pivot from lower. We'll have to pay attention. We can get another move down here and then attempt again, but we have to take it move by move, and as one fails, we have to adjust what can be happening. Unfortunately, with XRP, it's a very complicating chart because all we're getting is 3-wave moves. So you have to kind of reverse engineer and say, okay, if we hold this level, what would that be? And most likely we're getting a series of WXYs. I'm just playing it trade by trade until we get on the right side of it. Now, if this pivot holds as the low, again, we can make one more move to the downside as long as we protect this A wave as the flat, as you can see in the actual trade setup. But let's say we have a low in. What are we looking for here? And unfortunately, it doesn't hit any pivots we would expect traditionally as our guidelines for our diagonal as a wave 1. So I suggest letting this play out a little bit longer. If you're not involved in the trade, not financial advice, and let this count finish itself up here. Right now we have 3 waves here. Looks like we have 3 here, or currently in the middle of the third, because my standard extensions, if we don't get a deep retracement, is the 1.236 and the 382 for our third, so we could get moving here. And then we get our fourth back, and then we get our fifth up to the 1.618. So we could get extended out here a bit, but we'll have to give it some time to kind of show itself. If our third wave top is here and we just didn't hit our standard extensions, the third wave can't be the shortest. So if this is technically the third wave, we can't pass 55.48 cents. Otherwise, this diagonal isn't correct. I mean, ideally, we'd just want to see, you know, another 3 like that to complete our fifth, stay within our trend line, and then fall down a little bit, come back to our previous fourth, look for our long at that point, and then we can adjust our stop up to the C wave low and go for that huge trade. But until I get completion here of a pattern completed, I'm not really interested in leveraging up at the moment. But what's nice about this is it's clearly overlapping chop, so unlikely to get some sort of impulse move to the upside at the moment until we complete this diagonal here. Or if we just come down and, like I said, make a new low and then attempt a new impulse off that bottom. But I am optimistic about XRP making this move to the upside as long as we protect this A wave here. If we break it, I expect we might just drag down to that larger 1-to-1 target. All right, guys, that's it for XRP. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.